David Trolley, the music ministry of David Trolley. So much fun, David. Thank you. And thank you for making it a fun Advent, making a fun Christmas season with some different music. And I've really enjoyed it. I haven't heard some of these songs before, and you probably haven't either. And when David adds his joy to them, they're just perfect. So thank you, David. And thank you, Patricia, for platforming today. It's as I said in the text last night, I'm thrilled. Because I thought, oh, I don't have to platform too. That's good. So thank you, Patricia and Harry and David. Thank you for your work on the slides. And thank you to Bob McAvoy for always being here to record. And to that Zoom operator, Kevin, thank you very much. We always appreciate you. And of course, then there's the minister's assistant, Mrs. Duffy. Thank you. And so I have to admit today that last night I was having trouble with pronouns. Yep, I never thought I would have trouble with pronouns. And it was prime because the pronoun I was having trouble with, of course, was he. I mean, God, they're always referring to God as he. And how, I mean, does anybody know? I mean, why? It's just that it's the past, isn't it? It's the past. And I want to talk about the past a little bit today when we talk about joy. And so I was there. How do I, some of these things, I can't change the wording in them, but yes, I could, I guess, because, life has changed, or I could correct it as I go. But I think instead of saying he, and then there was a while we said she, and I don't want to do that either. I think we've got to start saying they, them, and theirs. Well, it's the universe, and it's everywhere, and it's everything. So it is they, it's them, it's not he or she, it's all of it. So maybe we need a new pronoun. I don't know, but I had trouble with pronouns, and I'm going to do something about it. But in the midst of having trouble with pronouns, it is Advent, right? And it's the 4th week of Advent. And so it's the beginning of Christmas week. And Advent is about the rebirth of the Christ within me. And it's a ritual that we move through in this human experience that seems to bring us closer to our own divinity and in harmony with an increased awareness of the activity of our divinity in our human experience. Now, let me say that again, that Advent is a ritual. It is a ritual. We have candles, we light candles, we say affirmations. I've had an Advent wreath up there. It's part of the whole ritual that we go through at this Christmas time for the rebirthing, to celebrate the birth of the Christ within. We're not talking about Jesus of Nazareth at Christmas time. We're talking about Jesus Christ, the Jesus of Nazareth that so realized the Christ within him, that he connected so fully with it, that he was one with that Christ and became Jesus Christ. He acted from and within the Christ self. And so that's what this Advent season is about, is getting closer to the Christ self and knowing the Christ self and bringing that Christ self inside of you and out into the world. And so it is with joy too. So what I'm saying is that it's a ritual that we move through in this human experience that seems to bring us closer to our own divinity. Ritual does that for us. It helps us. It helps us focus, and it helps us focus on a certain thing, a certain aspect of our divinity, and it allows us to let go and move into our divinity and be who we really are, divine beings. So we become increasingly aware of our divinity during the ritual time. And the trick is to hold on to it. As Ken Daigle said in his about lighting the Advent candle, and we're going to visit that again in a little bit, but it happens every day of every year, of every hour of every day, if we let it, that we're connected with the Christ within. So here on this 4th week of Advent, we continue the ritual. And in the first week, we looked at hope and faith and how important our beliefs are in that continuum. And you've heard me say this every week, but I keep going back to it because I want us to hear the hope and faith, the love, the peace, and the joy, the contentment of our divinity, and the connection. If we can connect with that divinity, that contentment, this human experience is so joyful. So, and we looked at how our imagination, the catching on to a thought and bringing into manifestation, is a part of this faith hope continuum as well. We see something, we hook onto it, and we have the faith to bring it into manifestation. And then we talked about peace, and we said peace in my mind, peace in my body, peace in my heart, and peace in my life. So let go of the outside. There's let go again. Just for right now, focus on you and bring peace to you. That rebirthing, the rebirthing of the Christ, that divine connection, that being more fully the Christ within, it's smoother in the midst of peace. And you know that, you can feel it when there's peace in the mind, peace in the body, peace in the heart. Then we're more connected. It's a part of that ritual that we can connect to that divinity that's always there. It's always there. The more peaceful we are, the more love flows through us. And then last week we talked about love. And here's where I have to make a confession and an apology. Last week I credited some words to Ernest Wilson. And I was wrong. It was not Ernest had said them. I got all carried away in my head thinking it was Ernest Wilson. And it was from the book How to Keep a True Lent. And it actually was Charles Fillmore that wrote How to Keep a True Lent. So I was pretty close. But the reason I got confused was Ernest Wilson wrote the book, The 7 Days That Stopped the World. So it's about Lent as well. So I apologize for that. So I misquoted some of what I'm going to say now. It's Charles Fillmore who told us this about love. And he said, divine love is the force that dissolves all the opposers of true thought, and thus smooths out every obstacle that presents itself. So we get onto an idea, we imagine it, we have hope, we have faith, and we bring it into manifestation, and we bring our body to peace, we bring our mind to peace, we let peace flow through us and radiate it out. And then divine love is flowing. It's a flow. And it flows through us to dissolve all obstacles. And you know that's true. Divine love will dissolve all obstacles. When love, Charles says that when love ascends the throne and takes complete possession of our life, its rule is just and righteous. Even destructive faculties such as resistance, opposition, obstinacy, anger, jealousy are harmonized through love. Charles said that perfect love casts out all fear. When love harmonizes the consciousness, we find that outer affairs are put in order, and that once where there seemed to be opposition and fear, cooperation and trust prevail. So we're working up to this joy. I mean, what's the opposite of suffering? Joy. I mean, we can choose to suffer or have joy. So I'm going to choose to have joy. I'm going to choose to, it's choose to be soothed. I'm going to choose to bring joy into my life. I don't want to suffer anymore. I don't have to suffer. It wasn't about suffering, as some people think. It was about metanoia. It was about change your thoughts, change your mind. The kingdom of heaven is now. You can be joyful. You don't have to suffer. It's about our mind. So our affirmation is I relax, release, and enjoy the wonder of the present moment. Say that with me, please. I relax, release, and enjoy the wonder of the present moment. What do I have to do to relax, release, and enjoy the present moment? What do you have to do? Is it the stories that our mind is creating from our past experiences that keep us from the wondrousness of the present moment and the joy that present moment brings to our human experience? Is it the stories? Is it the stories that we create in our mind from past experiences that takes away our joy, that keeps us from, that becomes an obstacle, that blocks the flow of our joy and blocks the flow, tries to block the flow of love? Because what does love do? It dissolves the obstacles. And so these past experiences from somewhere in our brain, as soon as we're having another new experience, it's much easier to grasp onto a past experience and create a story about it than to trust, than to have faith, than to be peaceful and love dissolve all obstacles and experience the joy rather than the suffering. We can turn almost any instance from suffering into joy of some sort by allowing divine love to dissolve the obstacles. So give yourself the gift of metanoia this week. Change your thinking. Affirm that you relax, release, and enjoy the wonder of the present moment. Deny any power to creating stories from your past experiences. And really, aren't all our stories from our past experiences? So, of course, I looked up the metaphysical meaning of joy, and it's fun. Joy, the happiness of God, expressed through his perfect idea, man. Joy and gladness are strength-giving, especially if the mind is fixed on the things of spirit. Affirm, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The happiness of God expressed through man. Think about that for just a moment. Now this is Ernest Wilson again in The Sunlit Way. Or I'm sorry. Oh God, Richard, you're getting old. This is the Revealing World. This is Charles Fillmore saying this. And what I'm going to say next is going to be from Ernest Wilson, from The Sunlit Way. But before I do that, I want to relate to what Reverend David Bryan Adams says about joy in the 2022 Advent booklet. So listen to this because it really sums it up nicely. And I only pulled a few excerpts out, but he first quotes Theopedia.com. Theopedia, theological encyclopedia. Joy is a state of mind and an orientation of the heart. It is a settled state of contentment, confidence, and hope. It is a settled state of contentment, confidence, and hope. David says this, I believe we must be aware of all the ways joy expresses in our daily lives. The excitement on a child's face when they smell Christmas cookies fresh from the oven. The contentment we feel when held in the warm embrace of a cherished friend. The hope inspired within us when we witness a random act of kindness. The bittersweet peace and comfort that settle in as we watch a loved one take their final breath on this earthly journey. Joy is present in these diverse moments, even if it looks vastly different. He says, joy is a sense of expectation grounded in the truth of our wholeness. Joy is a sense of expectation grounded in the truth of our wholeness. When we are connected, when we realize our divinity, that our human experience and our divinity are moving through this together, and we are connected to the expectation that we're grounded in the truth of our divinity, our wholeness, then we can find joy. So what brings you joy? Have you made a list about what brings you joy? Because it will help you find really what brings you joy and what things you're resistant in and what you're not resistant in. What are the obstacles that in the way of you knowing joy? What is it that you can let love dissolve? I stopped and thought of just a couple things that bring me joy. And one of them, well, and I got to do it last night. I had a long conversation with my longtime friend, Bob McAvoy. That just brings me joy. We get to, we do talk about the past, but it's joyful, and we've let go of anything that has to do with it, and we just let that love flow through us and experience joy. Another thing that brings me joy is practicing non-resistance. When I let go, joy flows in. You know that feeling when you finally do let go and you become non-resistant? That feeling that you get, it's joy, isn't it? It's you've connected with your own divinity and you've let obstacles get out of the way. The suffering's gone that you created. The story that you created is gone, and joy flows through you. And you know what else brings me joy? I just have to say this. And of course, it's very appropriate because her name is Joy. Joy Duffy brings me joy. Now, I know she brings you joy too, but I'm doing the talk this morning, so I get to say, yes, I see some people applauding, And how does Joy Duffy bring me joy? Well, being the minister's assistant, we talk all the time, we talk a lot, and we're always laughing. We're always laughing. Sometimes she doesn't know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I don't know what she's talking about. And sometimes neither of us know what each other or ourselves are talking about. And so we laugh and try to figure it out and go on. Well, she's just filled with love. She's always helping. She's always giving. I mean, like putting together the Christmas cards, the Christmas package you got. And then, taking them to the post office and paying for the postage, her and John Duffy. I mean, that's giving and receiving and love and dissolving. And so she's joy. And so she brings me joy. I'm thankful for that joy. I'm thankful for the joy that fills John Duffy and that fills her from putting up with John Duffy. I mean, I didn't say that. I mean, no, and I love John Duffy too. And what else brings me joy is ushering at the lecture center, cuddling with Miss Puma and Bessie Coleman. All those things bring me joy. So Ernest Wilson says this: joy is really about coming into the kingdom. Joy is really about coming into the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is now. Ernest says this: usually when you see someone who is all down and out at the mouth and the heels, one who has one foot in the grave and is doing a funeral march with the other out of sympathy, one who is shrouded in crape and spreading the gospel of gloom, you are looking at a fellow whose memory is too active. The hard winter of '96, the season the crops failed, a disappointment in life, all are as vividly living in his mind as if they were happening right now. And Ernest says, in effect, they are happening every time he thinks about it. Every time you bring that past up and you revisit it and you relive it with the doom and gloom, with the situation that brought suffering to it, you're reliving it and you're causing suffering. And so if you could just turn it around. Ernest says, and he calls them a grouch, which I think is great. If you have a grouch, forget it. If anything unpleasant ever has happened to you, laugh it out of countenance. If somebody has done you an injustice, square it by doing someone else a good turn. Do a good turn in purpose for somebody that you feel has done you an injustice, and watch what happens. And watch the joy that can flow again. Each morning, the world is made new with the rising of the sun. Be born to everything gladsome and joyous and illimitable. Each evening the day dies. Let your bothers die with it. It's like that 10th step in recovery. I take a look at my shortcomings at the end of every day, and I see what amends I have to make, and I make a list of them, and then I go out and make them. So I keep myself clear. I remove the obstacles from my joy instead of thinking for 3 weeks about that shortcoming and letting it make me suffer. If I can take care of it right away, if I can call up and say, I apologize, well, even if I don't get well, I accept that. I feel better. Ernest goes on to say, remember, he quotes the prophet of Isaiah. He says, remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old, is the advice of Isaiah. So Isaiah says, remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old. The prophet was saying, let go. Let go of that suffering. Let go of Babylon. Let go of the ransacking of the temple. Metanoia. Let's go forward. With former things, Wilson continues, we have nothing to do but to bless them and let them go, profiting by all the good that we have gleaned from them. Well, I know I'll never do that again. There's a lot of good gleaned in that. I won't make that mistake again. Oh, I'll do it that way again. A lot of good is gleaned from them. If we consider them farther than that, they become millstones about our necks, retarding our progress. If things come to pass, by all means, let us permit them to do so. Let us not hold on to them. Now, this is good. This is one of my favorite parts. Listen. To remember is to put together again. To remember is to put together again. If you do not wish to bring back or to put together again the former things, do not meditate on old things. Thought is formative. It builds. The eternal substance of God takes on the form that we give it by our thinking. To remember is to put together again. If you do not wish to bring back the suffering or put that together in the same type of incident again, don't meditate on old things. Thought creates substance. To remember the good that has come to us is a great inspiration. It helps us to keep us in a receptive attitude, which lives in and looks forward to greater good. If you think suffering, you're going to get suffering. If you think good, if you can convert it to good, we can look forward to greater good. But to forget things that have been unpleasant, that call to mind undesirable and destructive thoughts is almost of equal value. So Ernest is saying, oh, remember the good and use it to go forward. And forget things that cause suffering. Both are of equal value. We cannot live in both the present and the past at one time. Neither can we go forward into the future with our eyes turned backward. We cannot reach out and grasp the good of today if we are clutching tightly the things of yesterday. Amen. Amen. Yes, amen. He ends the chapter on coming into the kingdom by saying this: the kingdom is at hand, but it cannot be entered by way of the dead past. We cannot enter it looking backward or thinking backward. Its gates only open to the living presence and its golden vision of the good that is and to be. The kingdom is at hand. The kingdom is at hand. So we go back to what Reverend Ken Daigle wrote about lighting this Advent candle. and we think about the fact that when we celebrate the season with newfound glee, when we celebrate the fact that the Christ within us is born every day, every moment, and that we are divine, having a human experience, and that our joy is the joy of the universe, of us in this human experience. And so we can have all the joy we want. So I wish you a joyful Christmas and a happy new year. And I look forward to seeing you on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day if you're going to be here. Be joy. Thank you. Have a good day and a week.